Hello and welcome to Belfast Iconoclast. In this episode, I head up to Queen's University to talk to staff and students who are demonstrating against the university's programme of cuts. Queen's University is regarded as being one of the best universities in Europe, if not the world. And yet, despite the accolades they receive, the university have been savage in their cuts to educational programmes. Staff and students at the university are rightly upset. These cuts come as part of a broader programme of cuts that we've seen across the UK, Europe, and in our society today. And these cuts also come at a time when the university has increased the amount it takes from students in fees. And if that weren't enough, the university is still managing to pay its highest executives increases in salary. The faculty and staff at the Sociology Department at Queen's staged a demonstration today. I went up to chat to them and also to record speeches given at the demonstration. I first talked to two PhD students, Grania Boyle and Martina McCauley, who highlighted their concerns about cuts to the sociology programme and other programmes. I then spoke to the director of the University and College Union, Fabian Schupert, and the Honorary Secretary of the UCU and also the Programme Director of Sociology at Queen's, Dr. Veronique Alglass.
I've been in the school for 7 years, and I was here as an undergraduate student, a postgraduate student, and latterly as a PhD student. And since I've came into the school, I have seen massive changes probably occurring in the last 2 or 3 years. And these changes have not always been for the better, and they have always sort of accumulated around this issue of corporate marketisation and this need to bring in more financial income. And what we would suggest is our school isn't necessarily about bringing in the most financial income, but our school is about educating people in real life terms and sending them out into society to make meaningful contributions. We're educating people to go in and make better choices for people's lives. So for instance, in an era of austerity, of entrenched sectarian divisions, of a widening market, of gaps in inequality, what we need is exactly more historians, more sociologists, more people who will fight for social justice. What we do not need are more corporate organisations who entrench and divide that sectarian divide and widen the inequalities in our society. So we would say to our students, be involved, go into society, make meaningful contributions, but do it on your terms. Do it in a way that leads to the betterment of ordinary people's lives, that doesn't line the fat cat's pockets and makes better decisions for every single person in our society.
Would you suggest that the people who run the school are just out of touch?
I don't necessarily think it's the people who run the school are out of touch. The school is only one school in a wider network. It's the upper management, the upper echelons and the hierarchies that are making these decisions. People who are at the top of this ladder do not see the impact of their actions further down. We're a school who draws our cohort from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. We have loads of mature students, we have loads of students who come from single parent families, and we have loads of students who are parents. These are the type of people that we need to invest in. They're the exact types of people who can make change in our society, and they're the exact types of people who will be affected if this pathway is closed.
Just to say that, sociology is one of those subjects that is a questioning subject. We spend our time looking at things in a different way. If you come into a degree in sociology and you leave with the same ideas and attitudes and thoughts as you did when you come in, we've probably failed to get our point across. So I think that doesn't suit the status quo. It doesn't suit the kind of neoliberal way that this university is being run, to have a bunch of people who are questioning things like inequality and marketisation, the financialisation of society. We're questioning all of that, and that doesn't really suit. It doesn't go down well. But I also think that having a Russell Group university that doesn't have a sociology degree, I find just amazing. We're supposed to be equivalent to Ivy League in the States, and we really haven't put an awful lot of time and effort into pushing sociology even in Northern Ireland. Even compared with the way sociology's taken up down south is completely different from up here. So I think we've got an issue with the way sociology is thought of in Northern Ireland, and this isn't helping.
I think it also prioritises the voices of the powerful, and what it clearly says in this university is that the students are not the powerful, which is the exact opposite of what it would be. This is an institution run for, by and with the students, and the management need to acknowledge that, because if they don't, the students will take back the university, and it's only a matter of time before that happens.
What would you suggest that a student that listens to the podcast should do?
Get involved, be active, agitate, protest, send emails, support your staff, support other students. For students who question why this is important, I think it's important that other students tell them exactly why it's important. It devalues your achievement, it devalues your degree, and also in very basic terms, if the university want to paint us as consumers of education, then you fulfil your hand to that bargain. We have paid you in excess of £15,000. Don't dare devalue our achievements now and what we have done.
The meeting today was a good reflection of that there are quite a few issues at Queen's which are urgently need addressing, and where actually staff and student interests are affected. So I think that's a very common theme to quite many of the changes that have been recently put in place at Queen's by senior management. It's not just an issue of being detrimental to the well-being of staff or the work environment. It's also detrimental for students. It's also about affecting students quite significantly. Sean Ferrin, the president of the student union, mentioned in his short speech the cut to student services as well. So it's really about seeing the bigger picture as well, connecting the dots. I think if one takes an event like today, which was about single honor sociology, out of the wider context, one misses an important part of the background picture, because it's about wider changes, and they are extremely significant, extremely far-reaching, and in a way just done without enough or even any consultation with staff and students and taking the interests of staff and students into consideration.
And I think that's an important point, because this is the whole rationale of taking back Queen's as a campaign, because I think a lot of people are frustrated at the lack of consultation and transparency in the ways in which decisions are made. Students are not consulted, staff are not consulted, and actually, who is making a university as a living institution if it's not students and their eagerness to learn, and staff and their eagerness to advance knowledge and transmit that knowledge? We are the university. Of course, we need people to manage, the institution. But at the end of the day, who is making this place alive?
There were a series of notable absences at today's demonstration. No one from the major parties at Stormont went down to lend their support or to listen to the demonstrators. That is, apart from PPP MLA Jerry Carroll, the only representative from Stormont down giving his support to the university faculty and the students. Also present was an organiser from the Socialist Party, Kevin Henry. Kevin had a few words about the notable absence of politicians.
I think today's protest was very good. It had lots of young students at it, lots of members of staff, and the people who were noticeable by their absence was the politicians. There was only a handful of politicians, mostly left-wing politicians there. And the reality is that the politicians at Stormont are responsible for the closing down of these services. They're the ones who cut the funds. They're the ones who are driving the agenda of privatisation. And I think that the campaign to save sociology department in Queen's is about a broader campaign to defend our education system, and that's how it has to be seen. And we have to take the fight not just to the management in Queen's but also to the politicians in Stormont.
What follows is the speeches given at the demonstration by Mr. Schubert, Dr. Alglass and the Students' Union President, Sean Ferrin.
I tried to shout again. I shouted for 2 hours this morning already, and some of you heard me talking about what is sociology this morning. And I tried to point out that sociology is a discipline that tries to break with the common sense, with things that we take for granted. Firstly, because it's a distorted view about the social world. But also, as you're going to see, for those who are following this course, it's also because representations and ideas and norms are shaped by relations of power. And what's going on here with sociology is a good example. Some people think that actually we can close down single honor in sociology because we're told it's not sustainable. Somehow, look how many you are, and our classrooms are full, and all our modules will be taken by 7 programs anyway. So we are sustainable. There is no cost saving in closing down single honor. It's very ideological. You have to question what you're told here. It doesn't make a lot of money because we don't have students from Asia paying thousands of pounds to come to study sociology. But we are proud here to have students from what we call non-traditional background, people coming from access courses, from non-privileged background. And this is very important for us to teach those students so that they have access to higher education. And this is not really valued. It's also interesting to see that in a neoliberal world, this is sociology and anthropology that are threatened. Sciences that actually question what we don't want you to question today. Inequalities, reproduction of inequalities, the widening of gap between the rich and the poor, the reproduction of poverty, and so on. So, breaking with the common sense here is to wonder who benefit from the closure of single honor sociology, and obviously this is not benefiting to those who are making Queens, the staff and the students. So I'm going to let Fabian, who is president of the UCU, and Sean Ferren to give you some updates about where we are with this campaign.
All right, thanks very much. First of all, thank you very much to all of you for coming. It's great. A campaign like this lives from people actually participating and caring. So as Veronique already said, I'm Fabian. I'm the president here of the Union UCU for academic and academic-related staff. And since we found out roughly on Friday last week that 10 days ago that single honor sociology would be closed. So there was a decision taken at the so-called faculty executive board. We started together with the Students' Union, and we have a great alliance here between staff and students, which is really great to see because we quite often have the same interests, and as Veronique already said, we make the university. We are the university. We made quite a strong campaign and went out to the media, went out onto the streets and said, look, sociology matters. Look, single honor sociology matters. This is not an isolated event. You might think if you're not studying sociology, what do I care? But your course might be next. It needs to be taken into a bigger picture, what is happening here at Queen's, about particular policies of Queen's University senior management. The good news is that there's movement. So I can tell you that the staff of sociology is going to meet tomorrow to discuss a revised proposal for the future of single honor sociology. That's a first step towards a victory. It's not a victory because we don't know yet what there is in the proposal, and would be premature to celebrate, but it's a step in the right direction. And it's a very good sign for us because it shows that if you are proactive, if you have enough people who care, who are willing to voice their opposition, that you can actually create change, that you can force people sitting in cozy offices and armchairs to rethink the decisions they've taken, to actually listen to the people who teach sociology, who study sociology, who care about sociology at Queen's. So that's the good news. Hopefully it's a sensible proposal and it's a good proposal. And if that is the case, then the proposal hopefully will be endorsed by sociology staff tomorrow, if that is the case. And then it would go to the university executive board, another board, where people sit in nice fancy rooms, drink coffee and talk about the future of the university. And if they think it's a sensible proposal as well, then sociology, single honor sociology, will continue to exist at Queen's, which would be a fantastic success, really. Showing that if you work together, you can achieve a lot. Now, why do I put so many caveats always there and say that is maybe potentially great? Because it's not over yet, right? The problem is that this happened already once before. Some of you might not know that, some of you might remember is single honor sociology was the first time cut in the spring of 2016. Then we had a huge campaign led by the student union, very successfully saying, save our schools. It was about anthropology and sociology. And then there was a proposal put on the table and said, look, over the summer you can come up with plans how to save your courses and your schools. And then we think about them very carefully and deliberate with you, with the students, with staff, and then we make an informed decision. Well, that informed decision turned out to be an ill-informed, ham-fisted decision, unfortunately. So it's too early to say, oh yeah, we did it, which is one of the reasons why we want you to stay active, why we decided even after we found out this morning that this meeting would be held tomorrow, that it's important to have an event like this. And this is also why I want to make you aware of a wider campaign between the student union and the academic union at Queen's, is that we want to take back Queen's, because this is our university, right? And that's really important. And it should be in the interest of students. It should be in the interest of staff what happens at university, not in the interest of abstract market forces. We're always told we have to compete on a global market, which in some instances, yes, maybe, sometimes it's true, but it doesn't mean that you go around and run a university like a business, and as a bad business as such, just to be noticed. I think no business major would be particularly happy. But that's something we can discuss at another point. So all I want to say now is it's important that we stay active. It's important that we keep up the pressure, because as we've already seen with the summer break, where there was no pressure, all of a sudden, some people in university thought they could get away again with cutting sociology, and they can't. You are the proof, and we are the proof that they can't. And hopefully on Friday it will be set in stone that they can't. And I hand over to Sean.
So what an act to follow. So my name's Sean. I'm the president of the Students' Union, and it's, I suppose, more here talking to the students that are here today. But also to the staff about what we're trying to do and what the Take Back Queen's campaign was supposed to be about, and what it will, I suppose, try to achieve in the coming year. So we know ahead of us that we have a full year of now, and if all goes well with this sociology campaign, and we're able to save the single honours, they know now that, and we should know as well, that the achievements that we've been able to achieve don't come in the backroom meetings, and don't come in boardrooms where these very highly paid people with their very highly paid spin team talking about constructive and productive processes, and everybody was in it, and all the impact that it's going to create. It means nothing to students and staff whose academic freedom is being curtailed and are being forced into wider debt. And so we know, while the course closures and stuff is maybe an attack on the academic side of the institution, there have been unbridled attacks on the services that students want to enjoy, on the students' union's autonomy and the service that we're able to offer. We'll know that the Vice-Chancellor's salary went up by 40k in the past few years, while mental health services in Kirkhall were cut by 37 grand. That increased waiting lists from 3 days to 6 weeks for students. That is the difference. That's the time it takes for someone to spiral into negative depression. And this marketized view and this marketized agenda for the university will have massive personal impacts on the well-being and the welfare of staff, because we hear from staff all the time as a students executive that they do not feel valued in their job, that their primary function as educators is being taken away so they become an instrument to bring in research funding to the university. We know this is what the process of marketisation involves, but we all know for students that it also means the inevitable row that will come with an increase in tuition fees, because we saw the leaked document over the summer. We saw the Vice-Chancellor on a number of occasions say that yes, students need to pay more for the tuition fees because we don't pay enough. It's obscene, and coming from people who are completely unrepresentative of staff and of students and what we're trying to do. So to hammer home, the Take Back Queen's campaign, we will be, look out for a manifesto that we will be releasing on behalf of the students' unions and staff unions here at Queen's. This will be our joint campaign platform for the year ahead. These are the things that we're going to try to achieve. A protection of academic freedom and for freedom for students. No more course closures, job losses, and attacks on the institution and the people here, but also on the well-being and welfare of staff, gender equality, and any number of other issues that we, as the lifeblood of this university, see a problem with. Because if we didn't show up tomorrow, all the staff and students who are here, let's see them try to make decisions then. We run this place, and it's why the Take Back Queen slogan is perfectly placed for what we're trying to do. So everybody, get involved. Look at Take Back Queens on Facebook. Contact your lecturer if you don't know already. And again, it's more about the political alliance that we're trying to forge. Extends further than that. It's about a personal and collegial alliance that you should be trying to build with your lecturers and everybody else. And come to the Freshers Fair, sign up, look at Take Back Queens on Facebook, do your bit. And we're seeing from this crowd today that's been able to form in a few years. We are at a critical mass. In the past few years, there was no activism for the Students' Union. And staff, didn't feel represented, but we have reached a watershed where students and staff are able to achieve things together. And we will only achieve what is right for ourselves if we achieve it for each other and together. So look out for it, get involved, and as I say, come into your Students' Union, get involved, and look out for the manifesto that we're releasing in the coming period, because that will be the launch of what we see as the public vision for a university that is not beholden to market forces, but beholden to society, what society needs, where courses aren't determined by student demand, where they're determined by what society needs. Students aren't valued on their contribution to the balance sheet based on tuition fees. They're valued based on their academic merit, and the same with staff, that they're valued on the work that they can produce and not the amount of money they can bring into the university. And we have seen it, and given the fact that the announcement was made only 10 days or less than 2 weeks ago, that this crowd was able to rally, that senior management were sent into a tailspin, and have hopefully tried to put the pressure on that the course closure will be reversed, and we'll find out what happens on Thursday. But stay involved, keep active, and folks, there is a bright future here for the year ahead, so get involved and do your bit to make it happen. Thank you very much.
That's it for this week's podcast. If you have any questions about anything you've heard in the podcast, whether you want to comment on the programme of cuts coming from Stormont, or whether you want to talk about the issues with the universities, or if you want to show your support to the staff and students at Queen's and at other universities currently feeling the brunt of these cuts, drop us an email at belfasticonoclast@gmail.com, or send a message on our Facebook page, facebook.com/BelfastIconoclast. Of course, you can also tweet us at BeFastIconoclast. Thanks very much for listening.